Hi, I'm Zach Childs, and welcome to the Truetone Lounge. Today, our guest is Kenny Loggins guitarist Scott Bernard.
Hey there, man.
Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were born in New Iberia, Louisiana.
Yeah, absolutely.
And how did you end up picking up the guitar?
I grab it normally by the right here,
Okay,
and then it's just use arm muscles.
arm muscles.
Easy.
Okay.
Oh, you mean?
Do you ever use leverage? Do you ever?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. Well, when you were younger, how did you? The first time you ever picked up a guitar, why did you do it?
I was born like I guess most cats in the musical family, and just music everywhere. And there was always some form of music playing in my house. And my older brother, Reed, was in like a band. He was in junior high, I believe, and I think I was in fourth grade, and he had started a band with some friends, and the details are kind of muddy the older I get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I basically wanted to play in it, so my older brother Kent taught me a couple of chords, and then we started a band, and we played like disco hits. We're like I was 9, and I think the oldest guy was 14 or 13, maybe Reed actually. And we'd play at old folks' homes and skating rinks,
Yes.
So we do like all the hits of the late 70s. And we do like Kiss, Later on, we did some Toto in Kansas. But we always played like country stuff too. And just because if we were doing like a wedding reception,
Right.
we'd kind of, everybody get a taste, So that in retrospect, that was really great for me to just have to learn, because some of the stuff I didn't want to learn. I'm 9 years old. I just want to play Kiss and Cheap Trick and whatever was happening then. But I had to learn this stuff, so it was really good for my ear.
What was your first paying gig? The first one where you got paid money? Not food.
No, yeah, I think it was a PTA meeting or something like that.
Wow.
And I remember we played. It was at a elementary school cafeteria, and the curtain. We were behind the curtain. Man, I was nervous. And the curtain opened, and it was all the PTA people. And I think we played Proud Mary. Yeah. So anyway, there you go.
Yeah.
I think that was the first paying one.
Okay.
Something like that.
Do you remember what you made?
No, but I probably bought a couple of records with it. I'm pretty sure that happened.
Cool. Well, you got to keep reinvesting into the music.
Yeah, I did my taxes that year back then as a 9-year-old, and
yeah.
I wrote that off.
So, how did you end up moving? What caused you to want to move to Nashville?
Man, and I moved to Nashville fairly late too. I was 32, 31, and there wasn't a whole lot happening. And I moved primarily doing Christian pop stuff at the time, and there wasn't a whole lot going on in Louisiana for that, and you could only do so much session work, and at the time, you know, so Nashville was the place to be, you know. So we loaded up the truck and moved to. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My wife and I moved here in '98, and just caution to the wind, you know, a lot of faith, and we did it.
So what was the first kind of major gig that you with someone that was on a major label?
Yeah, it was for an artist. It was for Nicole C. Mullen. She's a gospel artist.
Yes.
At the time, she was on Word Records, and that was kind of like my first gig, you know, in Nashville.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, and I was with her for a while.
Okay. And then what was your first kind of because I think you've played with also some Christian country acts, and then also obviously more pop with Kenny. But how so what was the progression after Nicole?
How did that happen?
Yeah.
I played with a few different Christian artists. You know, I guess a guy that I played with most for a long period of time was a guy named Mark Schultz.
Okay.
He's a keyboardist. Piano guy, songwriter guy, and played with him for a while, and a few different artists here and there. I'm trying to. Oh well, I got a call from Jimmy Lee Sloas, who got my number from a guy named Kip Raines, who I was writing with, and Kip had given him my number if he ever needed a guitar player or whatever, and he called me for a country artist named Katrina Elam.
Okay.
At the time was opening or getting ready to open for a tour, a Keith Urban tour. So they gave me a call, and that was kind of like my first really mainstream touring gig, you know. And it was on Keith Urban's Be Here tour, which was pretty much right when he started playing arenas and stuff, you know. And it was really, really cool experience. And from there, I met Chris Rodriguez, who was playing with Keith and playing with Kenny as well. And Chris just asked me kind of backstage, really nonchalant, if I'd ever be interested in playing with Kenny to sub for him, because he was so busy with both, you know. And I said, sure, man. I'm like, this will never happen. But yeah, okay, sure, you know. And so about a year later, I think, I got a call from Kenny. And he had, you know, I'm like, who's this? Is this really Kenny Loggins, you know? And so, yeah, he kind of...
You didn't demand that he sing a line from one of his songs? I think that would have been prudent.
Actually, I did.
Okay. Which one was it?
It was The Gambler. Wait, no, that's Rogers. It's Kenny Rogers. Got it. No.
Yeah.
It was Footloose. That's
Footloose. Okay, so he sang a line from Footloose.
Yeah, and then I realized it was him.
Yeah.
And so he just, said he was going to send me some of the board tapes to learn. But I had there was no target date yet. It was just like, you're going to be third sub, so just learn it. And if, 3 other guys can't make it, then you'll get a call. Yeah. And there was just no way for me to mentally start learning stuff without a targeted date,
Right. That's quite difficult when, all of a sudden you're third guy in line and you don't know if you're going to get called at all. And how,
right. Chances are I wasn't. I was what's the happy to be nominated.
Yes.
But I figured I would never ever do the gig because it was 3 guys in line,
Oh.
And so anyway, I lost my train of thought.
So
is that okay to happen on?
Yeah, it's okay to get lost every once in a while, but we'll bring you back around. So there were 3 guitar players.
Yeah, so I figured I'd never get a call,
yeah.
And Gene Miller was also one of the guitar players, and
yes.
He also talked to Kenny about me, I believe, and so that's why I got the call. But I finally got a call. It was probably in April of 2008, and from Kenny's road manager at the time, tour manager. And said, "Hey man, we need you in 2 weeks." I think it might have been either Gene or Rick Colling that couldn't make that gig or something, and something came up and he couldn't do the gig. So I got a call, 2 weeks, you're on, and So I'm like, oh man, this was before, kind of right before it was massively normal to send MP3s through the mail. It was kind of like I just had a bunch of CDs, burnt CDs, and it was really random. It wasn't like here's the 16 songs you're gonna learn on this one CD. It was like, okay, here's that song, because Kenny has different versions of songs. That's one of the things that makes this gig so hard. So, but there was like I had to piece it all together and learn it in 2 weeks, and it's really strange to kind of just go up and shake Kenny's hand and say, all right, let's sound check, hey, Mr. Loggins, nice to meet you. Okay, 1, 2, 3, let's go.
Yeah.
And so it was a pretty stressful gig, but it went well.
Yeah. So backing up just a little bit, tell us, like when you first moved to Nashville, how did you get that first gig, that first major gig, like with Nicole?
Oh yeah, well I'm trying to. Okay, a really really good friend of mine is his bassist for, oddly enough, for Dennis DeYoung now, Craig Carter. You know Craig?
I don't.
A really cool guy. Anyway, he had a family band, like a gospel thing, and he, at the time we were going to the same church together, and he asked me to come and do some guitar on it, and that was like my first time. Oh wow, man, I am doing a Nashville session, baby. That kind of thing.
You were
I was in Nashville, and I was doing a session. So.
Yeah.
But so it was just some really funky Wasp stuff, and if I remember right. I can't remember the name. God forgive me, but the name of the guy that was engineering the session also worked with Nicole Mullen and David Mullen, her husband.
Okay.
And he gave her my name, for that gig. So that's how I got that gig. Yeah. She gave me a call, and she was doing some stuff. So.
And then like Katrina Elam.
Chris Kent was playing bass on that first gig. That was really cool. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hip.
Yeah, and Katrina Elam, how did she was on Capitol, I think.
No, she was on. I should have studied, man. I don't know. Okay. I think she was on Universal South.
Okay.
It was. I don't know if that label's still around, but yeah. So, she was a great singer.
And so, how did you? And was that again by referral, or was there?
That was at the time I was kind of doing some songwriting with a couple of friends of mine, Danny Myrick and Kip Raines. Really great songwriters, and Kip had done a few band projects with Jimmy Lee Sloas, and I was looking for work, and so Kip called Jimmy just kind of by chance. If you're looking for a guitar player, let me give you this guy's number, and so he called, and I went and auditioned that day for the gig. Yeah.
So. Yeah. Was this like a cattle call where there were tons of
No. I don't. At least I don't think so. I mean, I wasn't in line or anything.
Right.
I think they were just rehearsing, and they needed another guitar player or something like that, and I just went over and played a couple of songs.
Yeah. So for the guy that's moved to Nashville, what recommendations do you have for somebody looking for work? How do you how important is like networking versus having some type of demo tape or anything like that? What do you think is the most valuable thing for someone looking for work?
But I tell you, man, it's so different now. Even when I moved here in '99 essentially, and it's just with the internet and Facebook, everything's so different. I mean, when I moved to Nashville, I was really proud. I had a stack of business cards. I don't even carry business cards anymore. And
right.
I would just say move here, network, go to songwriter nights, and it's really hard. I guess everybody has their own road, but and it's really cool with like there's a couple of Facebook groups, Nashville guitarist groups, and I would imagine that's probably a good way these days. I'm so far removed from. It's kind of like the dating scene. I haven't did that in forever. I don't know what do the youngins do these days. I don't know.
Yeah.
But probably Facebook is a way to kind of get to know, or for people to just see your name. Maybe and then just be part of the community and just live.
Yeah.
I found when I moved, I found a good church and networked from there. Not. I didn't find a church to network. I mean, but just they had a lot of musicians there, and I just got to know people, and that's kind of how I
and then it becomes, you know, word of mouth. You know, when
Yeah,
people start recommending you,
right.
and people see you play, like
Right.
Chris Rodriguez seeing you play
Right.
with the opening act on the Keith Urban tour,
Right.
and from that, because he saw that you were a great competent player, then he could, you know, feel good about recommending you to Kenny, and even though it took a while, for it to
you never know what
inspire.
wheels are moving too, you know, behind the scenes, you know. I would say if anybody's kind of down with the dumps because nothing's gonna happen, and you just never know what's going on behind it. Somebody's talking to you about you somewhere, you know, and giving your name, so you never know.
Yeah. So you've been with Kenny. When did you start playing with him? Was it 2008?
Yeah. So what is that? 16 years? Oh, I mean 10 years, 9 years.
Yeah.
9 years. What year is this?
This is 2016. About 8 years.
Yeah. It's 20. So yeah, what is it?
It's been close to
8 and a half years, 9 years. I don't know. Yeah.
So how much has
it's been a good run? I'll give you that. Good gig to have.
So. Are most of the gigs that you do, are you riding on a bus, or are you flying to the gigs? How
these days we fly.
Okay.
It's been a while since we've done. It's been a while since we've done a bus run. You know.
Yeah.
But like when I first started, we were doing a lot of 2-week runs. You know, so because everybody lives in different areas. You know.
Right.
And so we just fly to the first gig. Everybody asks me this, how it happens, but we all fly from our hometown to the first gig, and then we bus to all the shows, and everybody flies home from the last gig. Yeah. But these days, we're just doing a lot of fly dates.
Okay. Yeah. And so on a fly date, of course, you're dealing with you're not able to carry a lot of gear with you, so you're probably backlining.
Backlining.
And so what do you request?
I carry this guitar. This is my home, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I have about 7 or 8 other guitars that are backlined because there's different tunings. There's one set up for open slide, different tones, you know. And I can't carry all that stuff with me, right? Yeah. So we backline that, and I usually get just 2 of these deluxe reverb amps, like straight off the shelf deluxe, and they're the easy amp to get. And they're pretty much the same amp when, you know, for a while I was doing Vox amps. And man, when you get a good one, you get a good one. And when you get a bad one, man, it would be a night, or just a hard night, you know. Yeah. So I kind of morphed into using the deluxe reverb amps on the road. And I get 2 of them, and just you almost put them at 5 all the way down the line. Yeah. And they sound great. Easy.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Are there any tricks to... you know, do you get 2 of them in case one of them is bad?
No, I just use them to. I used to just to broaden the sound a little bit, not for a lot volume, but it just kind of broad. You know, it's essentially the same tone. I kind of tweak them a little differently to kind of give it a little, but I just broaden the sound a little bit with 2. You know what I mean? That makes any sense?
Yes.
And it's not necessarily stereo, although I do. You know, where I do have the stereo pedals, they ran stereo, but I don't do any crazy stereo anything. You know what I mean? So
that's sometimes difficult to get stereo to translate.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway live,
PA.
Right? Yeah, but I just use it because it just, you know, fattens up the tone. The sound man actually likes it too. So yeah, and so that's it. Real easy, you know. Yeah. Tell us a bit about your gear. Let's start with this guitar. Now,
the proper pronunciation is Melancon.
Yeah, you're close. Yeah,
is that good?
It's Melancon.
Yeah,
It's a guy named Gerard
Melancon.
Melancon in Thibodaux, Louisiana.
Really?
Try to spell that one. And I actually met him at NAMM in Nashville. I forgot what year it was. It was a while back, and I kind of saw the name, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's got to be that. It has to be a guy from Louisiana. So we hit it off, and I loved his guitars, and he built me this one, and it's really cool.
So is this Fender or Gibson?
This is a. I like to call this a. Man, I should have cleaned it. Sorry, Gerard.
No, the road funk only adds to the excitement.
This, I like to call this a telly that dressed up like a Les Paul for Halloween, right? So I mean, it's a telly, right? But it's a mahogany neck, mahogany back, and it's a maple top, and he has tone chambers in it here and here and here and here. So it's kind of like a chambered guitar. And, it's really, really cool. I use this 90% of the time.
Now, is this full like 25.5 Fender scale, or is it the shorter Gibson 24?
No, it's a Fender scale.
Okay. Yeah. And then what type of pickups are in there?
This came in the guitar, and I think it's an Air Path, PAF,
Okay.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a Seymour Duncan, forgive me, it's been a long time. I don't even think they make it anymore. It's it's kind of like a 59, and I can't think of the name. Oh, SH14, I think, is what it's called.
Okay.
And I think what they did was they took a 59 and changed the magnet, or something like that. I am pretty not technical, but I really like it, and I use it. I use it actually split most of the time.
Okay.
I like it like that.
Oh, and so you have a three-way switch or
it's just a three-way switch.
Okay.
This is if this is a little mini toggle, and if it's down, it's the outside. If it's in the middle, it's the inside coils, and then if it's up, it's the full-on humbucker. So with a three-way switch here, you can get a ton of tones.
Yeah. So you're able to tap it where you can choose which coil you use.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So instead of just kind of being stuck with one coil tap, you've got the two different possible
right.
taps.
It's a few different tones out of it. I don't know if it'll transfer.
Yeah.
That's this here by itself. This is this one here. Right, and then you can get the Strat thing. And then it's full on humbucker. So it's a lot of tones in it. I can go through each tone if you want, but I don't think we have the time.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your pedal board here. So let's start from the beginning. So it looks like you've got this AMT wah.
AMT wah.
Yeah.
I got it because I needed. It had really good pedal board real estate.
Yeah.
And I use it on just one or two songs, and it's good. It has you can change the voicing of the wah itself, and I like it quite a bit. And it's very, very small.
You mind?
It takes a little bit of weirdness. It takes a little bit getting used to, because if you're using, usually you kind of sit like this, but you see my heel, so I have to kind of ride up a little bit, and
so let us hear the sweep of it. Yeah.
So there it is.
Very nice. And next is the Route 66.
Yeah. The Truetone.
Yeah.
Used to be Visual Sound. It's Truetone.
Yeah.
And I love it. I don't know about most cats, but I have this on 100% of the time, unless I'm doing something that just takes really finesse playing that you can't have a compressor on.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's always on the Kenny gig. It is always on.
So the compressor's always on.
Always on. Yeah. It's slight. It's just I have it set to where it just sounds like the amps kind of,
Yeah. And the overdrive on there?
Yeah, that's set just really, really, really. There's really not. It's very, very, very little.
Yeah.
This pedal here is my heavy stuff. And normally I run the amp a little hotter, so that on top of what I have a little bit of a cascading gain, I think that's what it's called, thing going. But if I can't run the amp, I'll run that too to give me a little bit of amp tone.
So,
pretty cool.
So you have the left side of the VSXO that you were using.
Yes.
And then you have this four-speed overdrive.
Pedal Doctor.
That's Tim Creek.
Tim Creek, yeah.
Who lives here in Franklin, Tennessee.
Yep. I use this for a little bit less distortion, just a kind of smoother distortion.
Yeah.
This here I use for like the heavy stuff.
Can we hear the four-speed by itself?
Yeah. Actually, this would be a better representation of what I use it for, but. Just some hair on it,
Yeah. And you've got a visual volume.
Yeah, which I love. I'm gonna do it one more time. Love this pedal. Yeah. And the Pog, for this stuff here, A little bit of a octave thing there.
Yeah.
It's cool. You can do a sub octave too, but I don't use that.
Yeah. And then the Brigadier, which is the Strymon kind of deluxe Memory Man kind of sounding thing.
Yeah, and I just have it for a. I don't use a ton of. I just use delay kind of like for a color. I don't play against delay with Kenny. I don't have it set up as an effect. Yeah.
So you do you kind of keep that delay time?
Constant? No. I mean, I tap what I need.
Okay.
It's a very simple way of doing that. But it works for me. And I love this pedal too. The H2O. I use that for the very popular this thing. Everybody cut loose, right?
Yes.
So that's there. I love the vibe sound on there.
Yeah. And then the Holy Grail.
The Holy
Max.
Grail. Yeah. Just a reverb. I don't actually, I have it there. I don't use it as much as I thought I would. Very, very, I just use it if we're outside, maybe I'll just kind of put a little bit to kind of give it a little, because when you play outside, it's so dry and, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but I thought I'd use it for more swelly and stuff, and every now and then I may do that, but it's just kind of there.
Yeah. So, thank you for going through your pedal board and your gear for us.
I had to. You told me to.
Yeah, I know.
But you're welcome anyway.
I made you. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I had a. Yeah.
So, you're very welcome.
Yes. So tell me.
Oh, and I have the Pro. What is it? The power.
You use the One Spot Pro underneath there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I thought I might as well share that, right?
Yes, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's interesting in that you're working with Kenny Loggins, and anyone that's working with an artist that's had a lot of big hits that cover bands end up playing.
Right.
I always find it interesting to ask the guitar player about how covers of these famous songs are butchered or played
nice word.
Or played improperly.
Right.
So what would be a Kenny Loggins tune that you hear covered that really gets butchered a lot?
I bet you most of them probably, but the one that stands out really, really in my mind always is Footloose, because most people don't realize that the choruses, the bass and the guitar are doing this unison run, and it's mapped out really. It's not like just a boogie woogie thing. I hear some players just playing just for. That's what I hear some guys doing during the chorus, and that's not it at all. Okay. Although Kenny kind of does that, when he's just playing a little rhythm and stuff like that, right? But there's a unison bass and guitar run that happens that's really, it was really hard to learn because you have to sing over it, right? That's what makes the Kenny gig hard, man, is that you're singing all the time.
Okay, so you do a lot of harmony vocals
all
with
the
him.
time. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Okay, wow.
And it's a lot of that. In fact, I think when I started with Kenny, the hardest part was remembering the lyrics, all the lyrics. Because, we'll take some of the lead stuff, like for Stevie Nicks on Whenever I Call You Friend, I'll sing part of it, the bassist sings part of it. And Don't Fight It, Steve Perry's part. That stuff, that was the hardest stuff to remember. The first gig I had, man, I had this was before iPads and everybody had a cool iPad thing on the, I had paper. I looked like I was in an airplane, like what do you call it? The controls, I had Whenever I Call You Friend here, lyric, This Is It, lyric, blah, blah, lyric, all over on the monitor, everywhere. I had all the lyric. That was the hardest part of the gig. I mean, the guitar stuff's, once it's under your fingers, it's not hard. It's just a lot of different styles, so I mean, you go from this. That Christopher Robin and I walked alone. That the Winnie the Pooh song. That to then you go from that to I just played this earlier, and then it's just a lot of different styles of music, and.
Well, take us back to the
Footloose.
Part.
I kind of went on a rabbit trail.
That was great, but let's pull it back around and actually play the proper part that no one is playing.
Okay, the proper part. But I said I'd only do it if you guys would dance.
Yeah, that'll be
camera.
That'll be thrown in later. Be,
I'm holding you to your word, bro.
Post-production.
Okay, so it's a specific part. Here you go. Cut! Come on, man, do it. No?
Footloose?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah. So, now, who played that part originally?
Oh man. Kenny told me before, and I don't remember. Shoot, I am sorry that I don't remember.
Yeah. We'll look it up.
I know Nathan East played the bass line.
Yeah. It's a neat part. There's some octaves, there's harmony,
there's a lot of cool things.
Yeah.
I think that song's kind of masked. How do you say it? Masked in the fact that it's such a pop song and such a. I mean, it's you hear it everywhere, right?
Yeah, it's very well known.
And yeah, it's so well known that you kind of forget how cool the instrumentation is, right? And if you listen to it now and kind of hone in on the bass and the guitar, and there's some really cool things happening on that.
Cool.
Yeah. And as most Kenny stuff is like, if there was a band playing Whenever I Call You Friend and like a dude's, hey, I know that song, let me just sit in, I've heard it. Yeah. You won't. Trust me, you won't. Because Kenny stuff's hard. I don't know what it is about his stuff. It's just not like your, intro, verse, chorus, intro. There's always a wrench somewhere in it that makes it hard to remember, and that's the thing about Kenny stuff. It's very musical and it's packaged in this pop thing, but man, it's some really cool things that happen in the songs for sure.
Very cool. Well, Scott, thank you so much for coming down and sharing your story with us.
Hey, man, I'm happy to do it.
On the next Truetone Lounge, we'll be talking with Kenny Loggins guitarist Scott Bernard.
Hey, that was lame. Can we do that again? Because
We'll do that again. You just nod or something like that.
Okay, I won't say anything.
You don't need to say anything. Yeah, you're cool.
Wait.
We're going to do a couple of these.
Ow.
Ow.
Okay.
On the next Truetone Lounge, we'll be getting Footloose with Scott Bernard, Kenny Loggins guitarist.
I like that one.
Yeah. On the next Truetone Lounge, Scott Bernard will tell us why true bypass is for what a fool believes.
You've been working on these, haven't you? You could go all day.
I'm all right, as long as Scott Bernard is at the Truetone Lounge. Yeah.
Keep going, man.
Yeah. If you've been waiting for the Truetone Lounge with Scott Bernard, this is it.
Whenever I call you friend.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Whenever I call you friend, I invite you down to the Truetone Lounge, Scott Bernard.
Man, I should have brought the set list.
Is that good?
Can we do all the songs? We'll just go down all his hits.
all the hits. Okay.